Hey everybody, it's Jane Johnston with the Bar Hill Group at Remax Camosa and host of Vancouver Island Time. I'm here with Karen Elgersma. Welcome, Karen. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. So tell us what you've been up to. I've been watching you on social media, and you started your own company.
Yeah, I started Karen Elgersma Media about a year ago, and so May 1st was my 1 year anniversary. So it's been uh, just a bumpy, incredible, fun journey. But I'm telling you, and here's the funny thing. I don't know if it's funny, but I was finally getting into the groove, and I started to feel like, okay, this is all starting to make sense. Things are happening, and then COVID hit. So yeah, there you go. But it's good. It's
How
good.
did it affect your business with COVID?
Well, the good part was all the clients that I had didn't cancel. They asked to just hold, which is great. So you knew that they were going to be there when you came back. And then I had some time to be creative because when I opened my business, there was so many hats I had to wear to get a small business up and running that I think my creative juices were a little dried up. And so I started to think about ways that I could support my community, both in just kindness and love, as well as in offering them tips, ideas, social media. So I put together like top 10 ways to rock online teaching. Because one of my clients is a school and my son is in grade 11. And I know how intimidating it is to be able to go on camera and try to engage students because they're tough customers. They'll make fun of you if you're not cool. Plus, they're hard to engage, and it's already hard to engage them when there's like a screen between you. And so those are the kinds of things I did that really helped. But it was, I tell you, it was really great when we came back last week. We contacted all our clients, and everybody rebooked, and we are smoking busy. So
Good for you.
it's good. Yeah.
Are you sharing all that how to teach an online class to
Yes.
school districts and stuff?
I did. I shared it. We shared it online with, and we shared it with every teacher we knew, and we shared it with, we shared it. And I made it very fun and not all like, this is how you do it. It was very much like I made it very entertaining. Yeah.
Well,
no teacher wants their boots bossed by some show off retired TV reporter. No, I wanted to make it really fun. So yeah.
Actually, it's funny you said that because I used to teach online training. I work with National Geographic. Did you know that?
I don't know if I knew about Nat Geo. That's amazing. I did quite a bit of work with them. Well, I have done quite a bit of work with them over the years with tourism. Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, I worked with teachers, helping them to learn how to teach. Sorry, someone wrote, ha, ha, ha. I don't know what that is all about. But teaching them how to teach science online. So when this started, I'm like, this is this great resource.
Yeah.
And I sent it to all the teachers and principals that I knew in the local school districts, but I don't think that they took me up on it. Anyway.
I think they were really overwhelmed. So.
You did an awesome video actually on all the mistakes to make during Zoom.
Yeah, it was just pure fun for us. We did that. Yeah. I have a brilliant team, and they actually, I came up with this idea, and then they wrote it and produced it, and it was great. Yeah. Because it's seriously, as somebody who's spent my whole life in front of a camera, I am so surprised at how people will just be like, they're on Zoom and, half their faces in there, or people will walk by in the background, or how messy the background is sometimes in people's Zoom calls, and I find it quite amusing. So, or eating. Jane, how many people have eaten through your Zoom call? And I'm like, it's a 20-minute call. Eat when it's over. Yeah, funny.
It's funny you say that because I was really hungry today, and I'm like in the kitchen scarfing because I'm doing market updates with all my clients via Zoom, and so I was like, okay, well, is it acceptable? No. So I was eating soup. Okay, so Esther was saying, I was laughing at her saying no one wants their boots bossed by a retired TV reporter. Ha ha ha.
No, no. And especially teachers, like they wanted more free advice, right? And so I didn't that, yeah, nobody wants free advice right now. Seriously, nobody wants free advice. It's
So
yeah,
so how now we're like in the new normal, whatever the
yeah.
new normal is. How do people tell their story?
I think that the secret to connecting to your clients or your customers or the people that you need to connect with in your business organization is authenticity and empathy. And that can come across in lots of different ways. So for example, you might notice I have really big eyelashes today because I finally got eyelash extensions after months of
I
being
did
depressed.
notice. They
And
look great.
so thank you. I know they're really it just I'm not used to them yet. So, but the girl who did my eyelash extensions, she, she was they have a new protocol and with the masks and everything's very safe and it was very comforting to go in there and know that they were so cautious, but also they were so excited. They reopened their doors and they shared that authenticity with me, what it meant for them to be able to connect with their clients again. Because when you're sitting on a bed getting eyelashes glued on, you have an hour and a half to chit chat. And there's a relationship that develops between the person, the esthetician, and you, and they miss that, and it was really cool to hear their stories today and what it means to them and what it means to their clients to be able to come back. So it's that true storytelling, but I would also go a step further and that vulnerability. We're really hungry for vulnerability right now because everybody is feeling it and on different levels. And I also think that with that, just some, maybe it might be humor for you, if that's your vibe, if that's your jam, maybe it's more just sharing some of the pain you've experienced, or maybe you're just like super excited to be back and you share that. But it's whoever you are, that authenticity is what people are longing for. Yeah.
Yeah, I find right now people just have to be sensitive, and not only about how they feel, but how other people feel, right?
Absolutely. And be careful because your story, your truth might not be something people can hear right now for whatever reason. And so you have to just really think about how anything you say or do might impact the person you're sharing that with. And if somebody responds negatively to you, especially on social media, just how you manage that. And I just tell my clients, take a step back, be empathetic, and be kind and be graceful. And usually people will have that sort of, yeah, okay, I get it, I hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, to me, the word graceful is a very strong word right now. It's
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's one of my favorite things in the world is grace. Because grace is this thing that you give people even if they don't deserve it. And when you offer somebody who's cranky, maybe you're at a grocery store and you're in line and the person in front of you is just cranky to the cashier, and you want to be a little like, but you don't know what's going on in their world. So take that deep breath and offer them some kindness and some grace, and it will go a long ways, not only for the person who's a bit cranky, but for the person who's on the receiving end of that. And sometimes it can be humor. Sometimes it can be, oh, I know how you feel. That's frustrating. A little moment of empathy, but it goes a long way. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think actually as you get older, the more if you could be more tolerant. We had this discussion in my family the other day because my husband said, "Oh, I'm going to be less tolerant." And I'm like, I think now is the time really to be, he was referring to a particular situation, but to me, I don't know, you have to understand. Yeah, there are lots of people undergoing pressures that we aren't even aware of. And
Yeah.
we're trying to tell our kids right now that, we're very lucky, A, where we live. We live in a beautiful place. B, we're able to work partially. And so, some people aren't. So anyway,
Yeah.
okay, so let me ask you a question. How does one discover their story?
It's a great question. I get this question a lot because I am a storyteller and I do story-driven media. And so people are like, well, what if I don't have a story? And my answer, as you can imagine, Jane, is everybody has a story. We know that. And it's about not just finding your authentic story, but finding your story and how it rolls out today. So what your story, you might have a deeper story of why you do what you do. So for you as a real estate agent, your story might go back to your teaching days, that you just love to help people. And it goes back to even when you were a little girl, and you might be able to tell me this beautiful story about why you do what you do and what it means to you. But today, as we're in this new normal, that story might have a new chapter. And I think that's what people are really interested in. So I would say, begin with exploring what it is that you're longing to share with your clients, or with people who are curious about who you are and what you do. For example, Jane, if I'm talking to you because you're a real estate agent, my mom and dad are both 80, and they wanted to sell their house this spring. And they're so overwhelmed. Like, it literally makes me want to cry right now. Like, my dad emailed me today, and he's like, we've got renovators in our house, and it's just too much for your mom and I. And it's just, they're very overwhelmed. And so I can see someone like you being so kind, and not being the realtor so much as the person who gets that world so much. And for you, it's normal. You understand real estate so well. You could preach it in your sleep. But my parents don't. They haven't sold a house. They've had this house. I got married at that house 30 years ago. And so someone like you could just be that grace, that authenticity that comes in and says, I know how you feel. I know how overwhelmed you must be right now. So how can I help you? And in fact, I just had a client the other day, That's your story right now, Jane, is you're seeing the fear or the anxiety of your clients, and it's resonating with you, and you're able to offer something to them. That's what you want to bring out. Because when you bring that out, my parents don't know you know that. So if you bring that to me, if you say to me, if you, for example, went on Facebook today, or on Instagram, or you shared it on your website, and you said, I just dealt with a client who's lived in their house for 50 years, and they wanted to sell it this spring, and they're overwhelmed, and these are the tips I gave them, or this is how I supported them, or here's something that really can help. I would read that, and the first thing I would think is, I got to share this with my mom and dad. And then the next thing I would think is, Jane, would you mind just talking to my mom and dad? Just to call. Do you know what I mean? So I think when we share where we're at, and do that in an authentic, empathetic way in the new normal, that communication, that story connects with us, and it gives us hope. It gives us ideas. It gives us a door that might open to help us understand how we can have an experience. The farmers market is opening up in my community in North Sandwich this weekend. And I wanted to understand what that looked like. So all the farmers started getting online and sharing their stories, and what it means to them to be able to come back, and how they're going to do it safely. So it's all about being real. But everyone has a story, even if the story is simply retelling of an experience you had that was really meaningful or purposeful. And
so why are you doing it?
Exactly.
What is it that instigated you to move into this industry? People say to me, how did you go from being a teacher to being a realtor?
Yeah.
I get
that question
all the time.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you.
That'll be the next episode. But part of the story too is giving people meaning. We really are longing for meaning right now. So, for example, I really I like fashion. Okay, so I wanted to buy some new pieces of jewelry, and so I have a friend who makes jewelry, and she made this beautiful necklace with an antique coin, and I bought it from her, and she sent it to me with a beautiful handwritten note. And I cried when I got this in the mail. And when I wear this, I'm not just wearing a necklace, I'm wearing an experience. She's kind. She's been supportive of me through COVID in some of my ups and downs as a small business owner. So this is like I rub the coin when I'm feeling stressed. So this isn't just a piece of jewelry. It's a piece of wearable art that has a story and an experience and a human relationship attached. And I think that's what people are longing for. So when you're reopening your doors. In fact, I'm doing a video tomorrow with Tourism Cowichan, where we're going to show some of the shopkeepers and that poignancy and that feeling of just pure cathartic joy of being able to turn their clothesline over to open. Being able to turn the lights back on. And we wrote this video for them because we wanted to give them a chance to tell everyone we're reopening. We are so honored and excited to be able to do it. And we're doing it safely, and we're doing it with the new normal. So your story you can find a voice or a narrative for that, but it's really being authentic and real, and going a little deeper, and sharing with whatever that you do in a slightly deeper or more meaningful way. It doesn't have to be like redonkulously deep, but it can just, because that's what people want. They don't want to just go to a restaurant. They want to have an experience.
It's true. And I think, what you're saying about turning from closed to open is so important, because what they're doing now is they're honoring their clientele, right?
Yeah.
And they're honoring the fact that they can be of service now.
I'm serious. Like, I have been just a blubbering baby this last, like, every time we went for breakfast at our favorite little breakfast place, the Third Street Cafe and Five and Dime in Sydney. Those are our two favorites. And I was like teary eyed, and I'm like at the waitress. I'm like, I know their faces. Because we go every weekend, we go out for breakfast, and they looked at me and I looked at them, and we're teary eyed looking at each other. And I thanked them, because to reopen takes risk. It takes energy. It takes so much sort of chutzpah, really, because you have to follow the guidelines and make sure, and there's lots of them.
Yeah.
And you have to make reports to whoever different businesses have to do that differently, but it's a lot of work to reopen a business. And the ones that are taking the chance and doing it, I just get so emotional. But you know what? That experience of having bacon and eggs on a Saturday morning is so much richer. Like, I am like tipping 20% right now, because I'm not just eating bacon and eggs. I'm having this really cathartic experience that I am so aching for. And that's what people want right now. And so whatever it is that you are doing, whether it's a hotel or I've been talking to a whale watching company recently, and they're going to reopen on July 1st. And oh man, they have such good stories, and their story is going to resonate with people in a very different way, because they aren't going to be selling whale watching tours to tourists from all over the world. So it's going to be a very different experience, but it's actually kind of incredible what some of these small businesses can do. We talked about being a teacher. Imagine taking your ocean science class with an ocean scientist on a boat, and going to race rocks and having that experience. So I think as locals, we can really sink our teeth into connecting to the other local businesses and organizations. I say organizations too, because you look at so many of our organizations like Victoria Conservatory of Music who are struggling, or any theater company. So we are going to reconnect with all of these people in a new normal, in a new way. It's all about hearing their story, having empathy, and having that richer experience that we're longing for.
Yeah. So actually, if you want to invite anybody who you're interviewing to come on this, we can talk about it and promote what they're doing with you.
Yeah, that's actually, it's funny. I was thinking, if somebody said to me, how do I get my story out? You were going to be the first thing I'd say, community talks. I think and you know why? It's so much easier to have somebody ask you about your story than just to sit there and stare at your camera and go, this is my story. I feel like an idiot, right? But when you have someone like you who's empathetic and kind and natural, and you just forget that you're doing a video. You feel like you're just having a conversation with a friend.
Yep.
And so this is actually an amazing place to do it, because it's not intimidating and it's natural, right? And then you can take that link and share it. And you know what? You can also take that experience and share it. So when you're on the phone with a friend, or a Zoom call with a friend or a colleague, you can say, I was on Community Talks yesterday, and I just realized how important it was for me to let my customers know that I am feeling vulnerable right now, or whatever it is. So having that conversation with you and having this experience is also part of their story that they can share, because now it has a grounding to it. That's what happens when we connect. Brené Brown, right? That we're hardwired for connection. And when we tell our story to someone else, it actually gets more meaning and it grows. And
it's true.
Yeah.
By the way, we're having a bit of trouble with the visual, but your sound is coming off well. So I just want to tell you.
Awesome.
Okay. So I have another question for you. We talked about sharing the story. What about if they have a story that's not quite easy to share right now during COVID-19?
That's a great question, because there are some organizations or business that are very nervous about sharing their story, because it doesn't resonate with what's happening in the world. And so I would say take a step back and share what you can and how you get. So for example, if you're a theater company and you can't, it's not so much that it's inappropriate to share, but you can invite people to your theater to watch plays right now, because that's going to be something that's going to have to be put on hold for quite some time because of how dangerous it is to have more than 50 people gather. And so it's coming up with innovative, interesting, out of the box thinking. So perhaps as a theater company, you do online theater school where your, some of your actors or directors are doing some teaching through some really fun apps. You and I were talking about some of the great apps that are out there. Maybe you do like a live thing like you and I are doing, only you do it through theater, and you talk to people about, public speaking or how to project if you're doing things. But it's finding that sort of being innovative. And then if you're a company that offers a service that, I think sometimes it's harder when you're a business, like maybe an accounting business. I don't know if that's the best example, but, we have to be so sensitive right now about how people are feeling. And accounting is all about, taxes and that sort of thing. But my accountant actually helped me through a very difficult thing this week. And she actually picked up the phone and called me. And she said, Karen, how you doing? And I don't know why, but it was a tax mistake I made. And it bothered me so much more that I made this mistake than it would have 3 months ago, because I'm so vulnerable right now. And she could feel that. And so she picked up the phone and called me. And here I'm telling you and everyone who's on live right now that call like grounded me. I went from going, oh, taxes, and I made this mistake, and how much am I going to pay, to just coming right back. And she's like, it's okay. It's actually not a big deal. And this and that. She was so calm and so wise and comforting. And so it doesn't matter what you do when you bring your heart and your vulnerability to the game, and you are aware of that. So you're going to maybe pick up the phone, or you're going to do things, then you can do things differently. But here's another example. I'm doing a legacy video for Joe Campbell. So Joe Campbell is Alex Campbell's wife. Alex Campbell's passed away, but he started Thrifty's grocery store. And she turns 80 on June 21st. And, I shouldn't be saying this in case she watches, because there's a surprise. Okay. I'm going to not say anything. But what I'm saying is there's a lot of people who have tried are doing weddings or doing things. They're finding ways around it, but it's the same thing with your business. It's trying to find ways to connect with people with that empathy in mind. Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. What's your story?
My story. My story is from the time I was a little girl. I knew that I wanted to tell people stories. And the very first time I got to interview someone, which was my neighbor, because I interviewed him about the country of Argentina because I didn't want to do a book report. I was procrastinating. And he told me, he was from Argentina. He told me the story of the prawn empire and the whole incredible story of that country. And I remember floating home to my mom and dad, and saying, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. I want to interview people and tell their stories. And I think that if I could just sit and do what you're doing right now and just talk to people all day and hear the story, I would just be, I would do it for free. Because when you have the privilege to talk to somebody and find out why they went from being a teacher to being a real estate agent, when you find out how people are managing through COVID, when their business is completely dependent on public-facing interfaces, when you talk to people about how they're managing financially when their small business is paying $6,000 in rent and they are closed, those stories are life-changing. They teach other people. They give wisdom. They give ideas. They inspire people. They empower people. And that is my favorite thing in the world to do, is to talk to people and hear their stories. And I could do it I would do it for free, and often I do. But yeah, that's my story. My story is I love to hear people's stories and then share it in the most interesting way I can. That's what I love about editing. Is I
Yeah,
love yeah.
that's the key. I think a good editor, right, can change the tone of the story.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love editing. And what editing does too is it allows the story to be really easy for someone else to hear and to understand because you're able to weave in what they do. So if you're interviewing an artist, you can see them painting and see the kind of work they do. If you're interviewing a chef, you can see them cooking, hear the sizzle in the pan. So what I love about storytelling through video is people get to see it, they get to hear it, and they also, through editing, get to hear a version of it that's very easy and digestible, which a lot of people need, you know?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's exactly why I'm doing this show.
Yeah.
It's about reaching people. We're not doing any editing whatsoever. It's raw, baby. It's raw. I do find that people are very, we were talking before the show started about how nervous people are in front of the camera, and I think that's changing. I have people who before they were like, no, I have to lose 10 pounds or whatever, and now
Yeah.
they're like, it's okay. And they're comfortable and they realize it's kind of the new normal now, right? Do you find that people are more comfortable in front of, they're not freezing in front of the camera anymore?
Yeah, because the more you do it, the more comfortable you're doing it. And with Zoom, you often see yourself. It depends on how you do Zoom, but you tend to see yourself, right? So people get used to it. But I would also say that it's making people more comfortable looking natural. There was this feeling, remember back when you and I were growing up and the news anchor would come on and they looked perfect, right? And
Yes.
they, like John Burgundy, Will Ferrell, and now you see people and they're not perfect. They're, the person who does social media for me lives in Australia, and so when we do our Zoom calls, she just is waking up, and she's in her pajamas and her hair's in a ponytail. So I think that it's giving people permission to not have to look perfect just because they're on camera. I also think that women are a lot more nervous about being on camera than men. And I think that is also just practice makes perfect, right? But I would say if you're nervous, just lean on people like Jane, ask them to help you, like fake mock interviews, because it is such a gift to be able to share through video or audio if you're doing podcasts or through the written word if that's your preference, but people really want to know who you are and what you do. And I'm telling you, no matter what business you own, what organization you're running, what nonprofit you're working with, if you can tell them your story or stories, you will make a connection to them that will resonate for life.
Agreed. Yeah. Agreed. And actually, interestingly, I just got a connection through a lady who I said, where did you, I don't recognize your name. She goes, oh, well, we met on Kids in Victoria 20 years ago.
I know.
An online chat group, which was nice that she remembered me. And I guess the other thing is if you share your story, then especially in Victoria, a lot of people, I think there's a high level of comfort, and then people do share your story. Right?
Yeah. And don't you do that? Like if I saw you tonight, if we went for a walk together and you're like, Karen, this shirt I'm wearing, a friend of mine made it, and she made a matching mask as well. And it was really fun. She you tell me the story and sound like, well, where does she sell these shirts? And you're like, well, at the market, at Mud Street Market. And then I'd be like, okay. And then I'd go to Mud Street Market and I'm like, I was talking to my friend Jane. So that story becomes, you're drawn to it. And you can do that with craft beer. You can do that with flowers. You can do that with real estate. You can do that with law. But it all comes back to who are you and what does this mean to you and how does that impact me as having that experience? But Jane, at the end of it too, we're so much richer for it. We're so much richer for it. Anytime you make a purchase or have a connection or lean on somebody for support, you pay somebody to help you buy a house or do your legal work or help you with a video, and you have a connection with them, it gives you confidence. It gives you joy. It gives you, it impacts you in a beautiful way. And then later it's a memory, and that memory is positive because it wasn't, your real estate agent was kind and funny and you became friends, and that's what we want in life.
Often I get at the end, hey, can we keep in touch?
Totally. I know, especially real estate, because it's so stressful.
It
And
is true.
so, yeah, it's an incredible gift to people, but it's beginning with wanting to share it and tell it, because then then we all get to be part of your story, and that allows us this incredible opportunity to get closer and more vulnerable, and it's interesting. It makes life way more colorful and interesting.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed doing it. And actually, I really enjoyed our conversation today. I'm just wondering, is there anything you want to leave with that you want to share with everybody?
I would say, think about what your story is in this new normal. Think about how COVID and what's happened in the world has impacted you, both on the vulnerable side and maybe on the good side. There's been a lot of good that's come out of this. And then find the best way to share it. And don't worry, there's no perfect way. It's going to be a bit bumpy. And that's part of the joy. And when you do, it will start to get easier, but you will start to get those connections with people. And through that, you will find that, well, first of all, you're going to feel less stressed, man. You're just going to feel less stressed. And it's also going to make it easier for you to be able to do what you do, whether it's a bookstore that you own, or a whale watching company, or you do eyelashes. That if you start to share your story and you start to do it authentically, it will make a huge difference in how you're able to move forward in this new normal.
All right. Awesome. Okay, you guys, if you're interested in getting your story told, contact Karen at Karen Elgersma Media, and you can email her, or Laura at Karen Elgersma Media, Charlotte at Karen Elgersma Media. This is a really hard name to say over and over again.
I can't even say it. I get my name wrong all the time. Karen Elgersma. It's like I put vodka in my water.
They can call.
Yeah. 250-889-3091. And if you go onto KarenElgersmaMedia.com's website, we do have a little, you can chat to us. You can chat to us because I like to chat. So yeah, please call. And you know what? Honestly, we really enjoy doing consultations, so don't be afraid to reach out. And we would love to chat with you. Lots of fun stuff we can do. And we are going to continue to tell stories, Jane. So we will share those as well. And we will share share it with us. We love to share the people's stories. What we're really trying to do right now is share, so that everybody can hear about the photographer or the real estate agent, and we want to share your story in an authentic and real way, so that people who are thinking about whatever they're thinking about, buying a house or getting a lawyer to do their will, or getting their eyelashes done, that we're going to share your story so that people have that engagement. So yeah, share it with us and we'll reshare for you.
Okay, awesome. All right.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, we're going to have Daintree Van Cleve come and talk to us. And then on Friday, we're going to have Avery Broman. She's with the the Victoria Hospital Foundation. We're going to be talking about what their plans are for this coming summer. Obviously, things have changed and they need money. So let's do what we can to support her. Remember, every day we're here at 4:30, so please join us. And thank you so much, Karen, for joining us today. I really appreciate it. And I can't wait to hear your stories, and I look forward to seeing what you come up with. I'm sure it's going to be entertaining, engaging, and heartfelt.
We can't wait to share them.
Okay, see you later.
Bye.